Hey everyone, I've got a pretty big set to show you here today. It is the Lego City Tuning Workshop, and it had better be a pretty big set because it costs a pretty penny. What I'm going to try to do here is go through everything that this comes with. It comes with a bunch of individual builds. Do that pretty quickly and then come back and kind of relax a little bit, spend a little more time giving you my personal thoughts and talking about value. Let's check out the individual vehicles first. So this one is a tuner car. It's a 6-stud wide build with a 4-stud wide roof on it. Looks like it has a line of lighting going around it because they've got that low line of the trans light blue plates that are built into it just beneath the graphic detail on the side, which is done with a single sticker on either side. It's got a wing on the back, which they suggest you put on at this weird angle. That seems like it would be aerodynamic, but not actually provide any downforce. So I would just, go, just do that, give it a nice little angle, looks much better. Again, 6 studs wide, and it is actually based on a specialized chassis piece underneath there to make everything easier to start with. That's one of the newer ones that they came out with for, I believe, 2020. That's a new one there. Got the gold colored wheels on it, holds just a single figure inside. Got a printed console piece there, steering wheel, red detailing, a little bit of room in the back where you could put just a tiny bit of cargo, I suppose. And it's got a hood scoop on the front. And that's pretty much it for this one. The hot rod is almost the polar opposite as cars go. This one has no fenders on the back, open engine compartment. Looks like it has a big old blower there. Just a couple of collectors on the sides that are blowing out some flames. Got that classic car style of radiator on the front. And it's fairly low in the front and fairly tall in the back. Definitely has a lot of classic styling to it. This one is also based on a specialized chassis piece, but it's not a new one. It's a rather old one that's been used quite a bit, and it leaves just a little bit of a gap that I don't like back here. Where that gray stops. I wish the gray would just continue on back. If they had some kind of filler back there, that would have been nice. These wheels are reversible, so if you don't like that look there, that's trying to look like it has 6 double spokes, then you can turn it around to make it look a little bit more classic still. And it's just a basic kind of bucket design. Does have opening doors on the sides. You have to move the flames out of the way possibly. No printed console in there. Of course, you wouldn't expect to see too much in the way of details in such a vehicle. But again, that is pretty much it for this one. On to the next. All right, who among you likes tow trucks? I like tow trucks because you can do stuff with them. You can actually accomplish tasks and not just roll them around. This is a pretty solid 6-stud wide build, 8 studs at the back though, and this does not use any specialized chassis piece. It is a proper Lego build through and through using just regular pieces, so it takes a little bit of time to put together. It has that one large sticker for branding on the roof there. This does only hold one single figure inside the driving compartment, even though it is so large and it's just a centered seating position. You do once again get a printed console piece at the front, but again, this is not about just moving people around and rolling stuff around. It's about actually doing stuff. It's got tools, so there's a tool attached on this side, there's a tool attached on this side, and then these are things you can open up. By default, you just have those traffic cones in there. You can put both of those in one of these if you want and figure out some other things that you want to store in there. And then at the back, of course, there's the main boom. I've got this reversed around right now. It's nice and neat, but it's intended to turn out like that. And you just push this down and it goes right down to the ground. You can pick up most types of cars from Lego of most sizes. Even a lot of 4-stud wide ones, older ones can be picked up, as well as larger, newer ones. So that works pretty well. And you just lift this up and it's able to go up in the air. Or you can bring it down to the shelf right here, so it's just slightly above ground. Looking at it from this side, you see it's just kind of that black tile right there. Gives a nice spot for this to lock in place. So it's just above ground, but it's not too crazy and allows you to actually tow something along. This motorcycle is actually a new thing for 2020 with the dark orange colored new body piece. It's not a fairing piece. Typically, this supercar chassis that they came out with, I think it's the most recent Lego motorcycle chassis, Typically it has a full fairing setup on it, but this is very different. It has a nice level of detail, very nice styling, and I like this different color. You know, it looks kind of classic, kind of old, so it's not too bright and shiny. And there are some customization options with that. Now, this one in particular seems to have a second engine that's been attached over the rear wheel. I don't know how that's actually connected, or if it's just a bunch of cooling system around what's ultimately a jet or rocket engine on the back, because that's a lot of flame coming out of there. But, you know, it's just a motorcycle ultimately. But I think this one is done pretty well. I think it's much more interesting, much more usable and unique than what they've done previously on this chassis with just the plain Superbike ones that don't even have many attachment points to do your own thing. And then here is a smart car that's actually for sale in a very, very small used car lot that apparently only has this car for sale, nothing else. But you'll recognize this car build. A lot of people will recognize it from the first Lego movie. It was Emmett's car. It was basically something just like this, kind of represents a smart car, or, you know, super sub compact, but the design has been around for longer than that. It's one of the smaller official Lego cars that you can build, period. It does hold a person in there. There is a steering wheel in the front and everything, and it even has doors that can open. Can't really do anything with those, but, you know, it's a decent level of detail for something so small. And you can also put something in the back. It has kind of a trunk there. You can fit a briefcase or two actually stacked side by side. The funny thing about this, the really funny thing about this, is that it has a trailer hitch attachment on the back. So you can pull a big old trailer with that. I will demonstrate that momentarily right after I show you this just by itself. You know, it's one of those ramps for displaying cars out at the corner of a dealer lot, and that's just a single sticker up top. This is a very simple build, but it definitely does the trick very well for this specific car that fits with it. Now, regarding that trailer hitch, this set comes with this trailer. It's a mobile office for the car salesman, you know, for the lot where that car is actually being sold. This is a pretty nice, pretty sleek design because it's built up all the way around and has interesting shaping. It's actually rounded around the corners. Got studs on the side building for this back panel here, and see, it's rounded around the back as well. It's actually pretty nice. Has that one large sticker for the panel up top. Just see what that looks like without it. You know, you can very quickly see that this could be easily converted into something that's not a used car sales office. Got the large door here in orange that opens up. You can even open that window once you get inside. But the main way to get inside is from this side. All of this opens up to let you see inside there. And, you know, there's a little bit of detail. It looks like the person might actually spend a lot of time in here. I'm just guessing. It is a little bit small. But I mean, you know, there's enough space to sit down, and you've got, I'm assuming this is supposed to be a refrigerator right here, and then have a little drink because, you know, coffee mugs have to happen in Lego City. But I could imagine easily adding just a little bit more detail to this and making it into a proper travel caravan, or even just a very, very small, tiny, we call it these days, tiny home, you know, mobile tiny home. And with that trailer hitch, you could just imagine that if the person coming to buy this car is a really, really good negotiator, they might go away, take that stand up, with the office as well. Doesn't that look funny? It's completely out of proportion, and I love it. Here's the main garage building, which is the largest single thing in the set. Has a rather large sign on the front with a relatively new type of wheel, not the newest, but a relatively new type of wheel that is not particularly wide. To give you that 3D signage, I will open that sliding door for you in a moment. I just wanted to show you a little bit more detail outside. You know, this is set up pretty nicely. It is built on some large plates. It does give you a little bit of street side detail as well, and it does have sides to it, so it's not just fascia. But before we get to more of the details, I do want to open this up at the front to show you how that works. It's very simple, just slides. There you go. That works. That does the trick. Now you do need to consider the space next to that, obviously, because it's taking up space. If you put this into a city layout, or if you have it in a little diorama with other things next to it, you do need to reserve the space next to this for the door to open. So this doesn't have full walls on the sides. I think it's best to look at it still from the back. It has a full wall on one side only, and it's got a lot of windows, which I think is good. And they've got the ability to angle those to let a little bit of ventilation air in there. Inside is a bin of various tools, including a crowbar back there and a push broom to keep everything nice and neat. Got some sort of welder or torch set up there. And then these are new welding masks or helmets, which are pretty nice. They actually fit over a standard helmet underneath there, so that can actually be turned up, which is something that we couldn't do with the previous welding mask design. And these have different prints and different color schemes. This thing that rudely keeps just swinging back and forth in front of us is a gantry crane. This goes forward and back along the roof line, and it also slides from side to side. So you have quite a bit of range with this, and it's used for moving large components. So it also comes with that extra engine, can't call it an engine block, but an engine assembly, part of an engine assembly that you could then attach to other vehicles very easily. Just do a quick, easy swap. So you can imagine, upgrading or downgrading for the sake of smog. I don't know. A vehicle just gives you some options. They only have that one as an extra, no others. Fire extinguisher is an important thing to have around a shop. There's a workbench with some nice storage down below, but nothing in those drawers or in the cabinet. Got a pizza on top of the workbench, and that's a pretty nice looking drill press. Just made a correction to it. There you can see it from this side. It's a pretty decent little build. And lastly, there is, I guess you could call that a checkout register, or you can imagine that's actually being used as a smog station computer, potentially. I mean, use your imagination there, but you've got some storage down below, some sort of computer or computer-like device, and there's also a calendar on the side with a little reference to a Lego car. That's a prototype style. There's also this jack stand, which is actually a separate assembly, so that does not need to be attached to the floor there, and that works very, very simply. And it's more for us to use than the figures. It's a little bit oversized, but it just fits under one end of pretty much any vehicle, and then allows you to lift it up like so. One last thing before we get to the figures. This has to be, if not the best doghouse that Lego has ever officially made, it's definitely up there. It's definitely one of the best. It's a nice build, has nice colors, has a little bit of texture around the exterior, and it has a bit of foliage, a little small tree build off to the side. That's a little extra. It's more than they needed, that's for sure. Got the feeding bowl there with the sausage in it, and I just knocked the dog out, and the dog is also new for this year, so we'll take a closer look at that. A different Bulldog style. I did not expect them to do another mold for another Bulldog. We already have the small French Bulldog style of mold that they came out with a while ago, but this one is actually dual molded, so the collar is a different color of plastic, and there's no assembly here. It's all just molded together. So kind of nice. They'll be able to do different colors as well as different print schemes on these. And yeah, I think it's always cool to get something different that is an animal that is roughly scaled to minifigures, and you can attach one thing to the top with that open stud. These two figures are officially named characters from the Lego City Adventures TV series. On the left is Handyman, Harl, Hubs, and on the right is Tread Octane. I very much like the Harl Hubs character, and as a figure it works out pretty nicely as well. You get some pretty good prints with these two. I think that both of these work out pretty well. The glasses for Tread Octane look a little bit awkward from a distance and at first, but when you get in closer, you notice that the eyes are spaced normally. For a second, it almost looked like it was an older Lego design, from their older days of minifigure graphic styles. And check this out. One of them has an alternate face. It's Harl Hubs, where he is showing that he's really being astute and concentrating on his work. Here's another good thing. Set also includes a helmet piece because the motorcycle belongs to Harl. The rest of these figures are not named characters, but I don't think that matters much. On the left is the car salesman with his cell phone there, and on the right is a potential customer for him. He's got some money. Of course, you can just pass money around wherever you want, but I personally really like the figure on the right, just for nostalgic reasons. I'm definitely biased there. Just reminds me of very, very old Lego figures. She also has that alternate face because that's a fairly common headpiece. Here we have a couple of gear heads, and the one on the left could be the tow truck driver for Tread, or it could just be a mechanic at his shop, or both. Again, two relatively generic figures that could be used for a lot of different things. I appreciate especially the not new but still pretty cool print for the one on the right. She also gets an alternate face. And here's one last figure. Probably this one has my favorite torso print of all of them. It's also probably worth noting that none of the torsos in this set are gender specific, which is great because it makes it much easier to swap them around or use them for your own custom figures, because you don't have to worry about things not matching up. I just like when Lego does that. They make things that are interchangeable, because it's Lego. No alternate face for this head, by the way. Here's one last kind of build that I forgot to show. It's just a flag stand. That's it. And that leaves me with just the leftover spare pieces, as well as confirmation, as stated by a viewer recently in a comment on another video, that these Technic ball end pieces are being considered parts that are small enough to always include in spares. So anytime any of these are included in a set from now on, apparently you will be getting extras, one of each. Also, if you're interested, here's the spent sticker sheet, just so you can see kind of the volume of stickers that were used for this set. Yep. So what do I really think about all of this? Well, first, let's talk about value. As I show you the box again, I'll show it to you on the other side as well. I did a little thought experiment to try to figure out where I stood on value with this. I looked at all the individual small builds, the vehicles themselves, the little doghouse, the trailer, the number of figures, all that kind of stuff, and the main build, and tried to add up what I would expect them to cost as individual sets. And what I got to was something in the range of $65 to $70, $70 tops. But I'm a little bit more comfortable with $65, not including the actual garage, not including the biggest build in this. The set itself actually costs $100 US. So that brings me to the question, do I feel that this is worth $35? And I don't, but how close do I feel it comes? And I'm torn on it because it definitely has some nice presence from the front, some nice overall size. There is a lot of space within it. It's not all as usable of space as I would like, especially the stuff over on this side where the workshop, workspace, workbench is, where the door is to come in from the front for just regular pedestrians. I do wish that space was a little bit easier to get to. You can just take this gantry crane off and then get in there. That makes it much easier. But then they have the tiled off space down there. None of that makes that much of a difference in terms of value, but it does make a difference in terms of, well, what you can get out of a thing. Looking at the amount of stuff that's here, gosh, it's so tough to say because it is large, but it's mostly hollow and it's mostly empty. I'm going to give this $25. Let me know what you think about that, though. Let me know what you think about the value of everything here put together. If you want to do that same experiment yourself, try to think about, what each vehicle would cost. Just kind of add it up, roughly or something. Let me know what you think, because $100 definitely seems like too much to me for what I see here in front of me. Whether I look at it on the whole or I, add up everything piecemeal, but it doesn't feel that too far out of the question. When you think of what all you can do with $100 US in a single, think of a Star Wars spaceship. It just comes just by itself. You know, what can $100 get you in a single thing from Lego compared to what all you can do with this here? I feel like the value here is decent, but I do wish it was a little bit lower. Yeah, so I am definitely torn on that. But what do I really feel about this stuff? Just on the whole, I have to strongly, or I have had to up to this point, I can stop now, fight this definite bias that I have in favor of the subject material. I like cars, I like trucks, I like wheeled vehicles, I like land vehicles in general, and the minifigures that they include here are pretty nice. Even the color of this garage, I personally like, you know, the overall motif. I've been able to get past that, but okay, stripping down the must be professional, must be a proper unbiased reviewer, I still like this truck. I like the design of it a lot. I don't like the boom. I don't like the working part back here. I feel like it just kind of falls apart a little bit there. It works though. That's important, and that's what it's supposed to do. It does what it's supposed to do. So I appreciate that. I don't know if I mentioned that it has a trailer hitch as well, but it's a good thing overall, as Martha Stewart would formerly say. The tuner car, I'm not that big of a fan of its looks, but it's a fine build. It's heavy. You know, there's a lot of mass there. By the way, you can also take this scoop off and try to put an engine piece on the top of that if you want, as just an option. But it's just not that great of a build. I like the hot rod in general, but that gap in front of the rear wheels does bug me under the frame rail kind of area. So none of those things are perfect to me. This is probably the best done thing in the set. It's really nice. Could use more detail on the inside, but it's easy to customize. It's probably the second best thing in the set, along with the dog itself. And this is a really good, basic, cute, tiny car build. Still is, has been since they first introduced it, still is, works really well. That motorcycle mold also works really well. So I feel like every single thing here is between okay and good. None of it do I feel is bad. Is there one single thing that I really truly complained about? I was like, I don't like this. I mean, it's little details. So overall, I feel like this is done pretty nicely. I think that a lot of people will be able to get a lot of enjoyment out of it at a wide range of ages. I like a lot of the individual small things. The welding helmets are really nice. The stickers are effective. They add a lot to the set, but if you don't want to use them at all, you definitely don't need to use them. I think this is probably the most important one here. These are also really cool, especially this one. I don't know between these two, but I feel like they definitely add to this. And overall, I think it's a good set, but I do wish it was sold for a bit less. So that's pretty much it for my less filtered thoughts about this. Please let me know what you think about this in the comments, especially since I do feel torn on the whole value thing in general. If you want to see how the whole thing went together, this was a large enough one to get its own build, actually 2 build videos. I got the real-time one and also the speed build video. So check out one of those if you'd like to. And thank you very much for watching. Hope that you've enjoyed this. I will talk to you again real soon.